Well, yesterday, in the middle of an all-out, out-of-control Twitter tirade, the kind we've become used to with Donald Trump, he admitted that his campaign colluded with a Russian agent in a conspiracy against the American people and the United States. Tweeting, quote, "Fake news reporting a complete fabrication that I am concerned about the meeting that my wonderful son, Donald, had in Trump Tower. This was a meeting to get information on an opponent. Totally legal and done all the time in politics, and it went nowhere. I did not know about it. This was a meeting to get information on an opponent." Now let's insert the pertinent details. This was a meeting with the intelligence agents of an enemy of the United States of America, which was at that very moment actively attacking our democracy by interfering in our electoral process to get information on an opponent. Let's talk about the timeline and the evolution of denials related to this meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya, an admitted Kremlin agent. At first, the Trump campaign claimed that there was no communications period, when in November of 2016, soon-to-be White House Communications Director Hope Hicks said, quote, "It never happened. There was no communication between the campaign and any foreign entity during the campaign," unquote. Followed by Sarah Huckabee Sanders in February 2017 saying, quote, "This is a non-story because, to the best of our knowledge, no contacts took place," unquote. Well, it only took 1 month for "to the best of our knowledge" to morph into, well, there were communications, but no planned meetings with the Russians. And this came straight from Don Jr. himself, which he said in March of 2017, quote, "Did I meet with the people that were Russian? I'm sure I did. But none that were set up, none that I can think of at the moment, and certainly none that I was representing the campaign in any way, shape, or form," unquote. Then, in July, no planned meetings became, well, yeah, planned meetings, but about adoption. Remember when Don Jr. said this in a statement, quote, "We primarily discussed a program about the adoption of Russian children that was active and popular with American families years ago and has since ended by the Russian government. But it was not a campaign issue at the time, and there was no follow-up," unquote. Well, that was hilariously followed up the very next day by another layer of bullshit spackle when Donnie Jr. had to release yet another statement saying that the meeting was planned to discuss the campaign, but the information exchanged wasn't meaningful. Specifically, he said, quote, "No details or supporting information was provided or even offered. It quickly became clear that she had no meaningful information," unquote. Well, it only took until December of 2017 to go from absolutely no meetings to the best of our knowledge, no meetings, to no planned meetings, to no planned meetings about the campaign, to no meaningful information came from the meetings about the campaign. And it is in December when collusion isn't even a crime became a thing. When Trump said in an interview with Michael Schmidt of the New York Times, quote, "There is no collusion, and even if there was, it's not a crime," unquote. And even Trump lawyer Jay Sekulow said, quote, "For something to be a crime, there has to be a statute that you claim is being violated. There is not a statute that refers to criminal collusion. There is no crime of collusion," which is only technically true because collusion is a very broad term being used to encompass many other specific crimes that are laid out in U.S. code, like conspiracy, as well as many others. Well, from December to May, we got from no meaningful info was received to, well, if meaningful info were obtained, we didn't use it. That's when human cigar ashtray Rudy Giuliani said, quote, "And even if it comes from a Russian or a German or an American, it doesn't matter." And they never used it, is the main thing. They never used it. They rejected it. If there was collusion with the Russians, they would have used it. Which brings us to the last few weeks when Trump has claimed that he couldn't have colluded with Russia because he didn't even know Putin. Keep in mind, this is in spite of the several times over the years, and during the campaign specifically, that Donald Trump claimed to know Vladimir Putin very well. And that leads us to yesterday, when Donald Trump fired off that tweet that I was talking about at the top of this video. He introduced a denial that any reasonable, rational person is going to find beyond the pale. Quote, "This was a meeting to get information on an opponent. Totally legal and done all the time in politics, and it went nowhere, and I did not know about it." Look, after the dizzying series of lie after lie after lie after lie, who would buy that the one thing that would be the truth would be that he didn't know about the meeting? Listen, let's be frank and let's be plain about this. It is looking like Donald Trump is screwed, but it is likely going to take congressional action through impeachment to remove him and then convict him of his many crimes against the people of the United States of America. That is why you need to get registered to vote and get out to the polls in November to do your part to put an end to this national nightmare, because we absolutely have the power to send him packing.